Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of New York Giants Football Talk. Kenny K here, January 20th, 2026. And 2025 may have not been a good season for the Giants, but 2026 sure has turned us around. And I'm excited about what 2026 has got to bring. I know my friend, my brother from another, my always co-host on New York Giants Football Talk, Paul Rosen, is also excited. And how are we doing, Paul? And we'll get into why we're excited, but how are you doing otherwise?
Good. Good evening, Kenny. Good evening, everybody. I am excited. I'm looking forward to a great show. Yeah, let's face it. We got our coach. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. And there can't be a Giant fan, not just in New York, New Jersey, but in the world that cannot be excited after hearing our new coach talk this afternoon. So let's get into it. And hey, listen, this is a new era.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to pass the agenda to you, but you said right before we came on the air, expected big snowstorm. It's been cold here in my neck of the woods, Maryland, but John Harbaugh, our new head coach, that changes everything, Paul. So I'm going to pass it to you, and we're going to start our agenda tonight.
All right. Thanks, Kenny. So, Kenny and I were on Thursday when it became official that the Giants were going to sign him. We had a short show, but we it was what did we call it? An
We did
emergency show.
emergency podcast. Yep.
Emergency podcast. But with this being our regular New York Football Giants talk show, we wanted to get into it a little bit more about the hiring of our 21st New York Football Giants coach John Harbaugh. So, um, with that being said, Kenny, why don't you tell us your feelings? I know you watched the press conference. I watched the press conference this afternoon. So give me your thoughts and sort of encapsulate your feeling at this point.
Oh, my thoughts were, you know, when you first, it's been a while since we've had a coach of this caliber. And the last time was Tom Coughlin. So I was a little younger, still, out of high school, college days, but Tom Coughlin was here. But to hear the press just clap when he came up, it just felt like it was a real clap and not just the fake, you know, claps that you get from people, but it looked real. Some of the words he used, I just felt like every word he meant. And I truly think that this is going to be the turnaround that we've been waiting for. And I think it's going to be a lot sooner than people think. And I got some highlights. We'll get into some of the highlights of his press conference, but I couldn't be more excited listening to his press conference from beginning to end. I listened to it twice. That's how great it was. So, so I might go listen to it a third time when the show is over because I'm that excited. So, I do have some
Great.
notes. We're gonna, some things that were said and questions that were answered in the press conference, and we'll have some fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll get into it if that's okay with you.
Yeah, real
And
real
you
quick.
mentioned,
Kurt's saying hello. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go
hey,
ahead.
Kurt.
Kurt's saying hello, and he's got a big one on Sunday, being a Bronco fan. So,
Yeah.
unfortunate Bo Nix
Um,
was out, but we'll get into that on another show.
yeah. Listen, you mentioned Tom Coughlin, and obviously 2 Super Bowls under his guidance as Giants' longtime coach. And a couple of things that struck me listening to Coach Harbaugh today. He reminded me so much of Tom Coughlin, and I'll give you some words. He used the word tough. He used the word physical, smart, discipline. But the key word that I know Giant fans want to hear is the same word that Tom Coughlin used: finish, finish, finish. And those words were music to my ears because of how we collapsed in so many games in the fourth quarter of this year. So the other thing that struck me was the fact that uh, Harbaugh felt it was such an honor to be and have responsibility to coach this team. And he used the word team 3, 4, 5 times. And the other thing is, I loved it. I got goosebumps when he said this. He's so proud to be representing the New York Football Giants. And he emphasized that word football. And then looked out to the audience and his father, and he said, "You always reminded me it was the football Giants." So I just love that. That just made my day. So, what other thoughts that you got out of the press conference, Kenny?
Yeah, some things I noticed. So let's say hello to Mark, a fellow Giant fan first. Good evening,
Hey, Mark.
gentlemen. Mark, and let's say hello to Sharon, who's saying hello to us. And their coach is gone in Buffalo, so lots going
Sharon.
on
Oh
around the
my
world.
goodness.
Yeah, it's tough loss there. I witnessed the Music City Miracle with her and her dad. We watched that game together. That was so I know her pain. But on the Giants, before the press started asking questions, my notes. What an honor, like you said. That's the first words that came out. What an honor to be here. I believed every word he said. He truly got to me in that press conference. Amazing, incredible, fired up. What also he noted was the players that were being there. The players were out there in the back of the room. That says a lot. That the players are there, and I know Jameis Winston. He talked about Jameis Winston in the press conference, but a lot of other
Right.
players were there, and he pointed that out. I wanted this job, and he said that with emphasis. That
Hmm.
gave me the goosebumps when he said that. I wanted this job. He knows the mission, and he has so much respect for the Mara family and Tish family, and now the Koch family as well. Those were the things I got out of notes that I wrote down, some of the words he used
Hmm.
before the press started answering questions. That was his intro. And he's hyping up Joe Shane. So we'll see. We'll see. Joe Shane went
Yeah.
out there and he, you know, got to him. So we'll see. Hopefully it's a marriage. I seen in Broncos, Kurt, if you're listening, I seen it work with Sean Payton and George Payton, two different spellings. George Payton was on the hot seat. Nathaniel Hackett was the coach. Very similar here. Maybe Joe Shane works with Harbaugh, and maybe it becomes a good marriage that people don't expect. So he hyped him up, and I'm gonna believe what the coach says because he had me believing, and I'm excited like you are.
Yeah. Listen, I'll be the first to say I was wrong. I've been on the Joe Shane train of getting rid of him. But listen, if it becomes a more collaborative situation and everyone is saying the same thing, um, I'm very happy that the Giants agreed and didn't let this become an impediment to get him by allowing him reporting directly to John Mara. I think you have to give John and the Giants and Tish family a lot of credit for changing their business model. 101 years of doing the same thing year after year after year, reporting. The coach reports to the GM or the president or whatever the title is, and then the president or GM reports to the owner. So you got to give them a lot of credit. They understood the need, the severity, the responsibility to themselves, to the Giants organization and the Giants fans to get this guy in as the coach. So for them to be flexible enough to change that was something that you really have to thank everybody involved. The other thing that struck me, Kenny, and I loved it, was his uh, mentioning his dad, his father, a few times in terms of the kinds of beliefs, the kinds of processes that he used, the way he used to describe certain things that on a football basis, culture and team and all of that. And he got a lot of that from his father. And the fact that his parents were there was so striking. And in a similar fashion, the idea that his wife and his daughter, who's at law school, couldn't be there, but they're what did he call them? Three peas in a pod. And the idea that they're so close and she's all in on what he wanted to do. So the fact that they're, you know, so in sync and wanted to come here and prove that, hey, I'm gonna come to New York and be successful because, hey, like you, Kenny, that must have been music to your ears as well when he said, we're winning from day one. So,
Mhm.
I mean, let's face it, you have this guy in your building, winner from day one. What more do you want? And let me just say one more thing before I'm gonna shut up. I don't know if you heard of this. Tom Coughlin apparently said to Chris Mara when he heard that uh, John Harbaugh was available, he told Chris Mara, "You better get your ass down to Baltimore and meet him and see what he wants because I'm hearing that he wants to coach the New York Football Giants. So you better do what you can to get him up here and get him to be coaching this football team." So that was a little bit of what I took out of it. And anything else that you want to add to the
Yeah,
hire and
definitely.
the press
Yeah.
conference today?
Now, with the press conference, he answered some questions, and he said how he wants to build a team that's physical and tough, and more important, smart and disciplined. Because there was no discipline on this team last year, and that maybe that was a jab at Abdul Carter. I don't know, and others on the team that weren't disciplined. But you're not going to see that, you know, playground atmosphere this year. In you're not going to see gym class. You're not going to see it. It's not going to be fun and games. It's going to be about business. Wants to do things the right way. It's going to be always about the team. Loved it. Loved when he said that. And a couple other ones. He's excited about Dart. Quarterback is important, he said, and he loves who he is, not just the player, but off the field too. All he does is talk about football. He says, I am going to be not only excited, I will be right there with Jackson Dart talking to him and, in his ear and etc. back and forth. Love it. Impressive. Joe Shane was impressive to me, he said. And then last, coaches. When they asked about the coaching staff, he's going to guarantee a good coaching staff, teachers among men, build the best coaching staff, winning culture that build a winning culture through the coaching staff, through the players, etc. And excited that it's going to be a complete turnaround as soon as next year. And you know what? We'll get into it on future shows, but that future is bright. It's a bright blue, it's a bright red, and a bright white. Let's go. I'm ready.
I
And
agree,
welcome to the
Kenny.
New York Giants, John Harbaugh, Coach Harbaugh. Welcome.
Yep. Couldn't have said it any better. Great thoughts. And it's like you draw the line, new year, new era, and let's go. And I think it's going to be an exciting one because we haven't had a proven winner like this in forever, probably since, Parcells. And even that was a while. And then obviously Coughlin came in, but it took a while for Tom to uh, become that legendary coach. So, oh, the last thing I do want to mention, he talked to Andy Reid,
Yes.
and Andy Reid gave him some really good advice. He said, "What did he say?" And I'm paraphrasing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nothing bad about change. Nothing, nothing
He
wrong with
basically,
change or
yeah,
something.
he basically said if we turn out to be you know, if this turns out to be like Andy Reid, I think we'll take that, right? Like
Yeah,
the Andy Red
right.
led Chiefs. So,
Yep.
hey, a few
Yeah. I'll
Super
take.
Bowls, I'll sign up for that. I will sign
Right,
up for that. Let's
exactly.
go.
Exactly. Yeah. And lastly, again, I just want to send all our best. I know, Kenny, you'll agree. John was there today. From what I read, and this could be wrong, he actually changed his treatment today in order for him to be there, which was extremely, extremely important. So we send out our best, our love, our prayers to John, and hopefully he's getting better. And today marks a new era in New York
Yeah.
Football Giants world.
And just in case there's somebody who may pop on and not on now or doesn't know who Paul's referencing to, John is our owner, John Mara, Mr. Mara. Fighting cancer right now. We wish you the best, and our prayers, thoughts, and prayers are with you every night, Mr. Mara. Get well soon.
Yep. All right. Any other comments about?
I think we had a good discussion, Paul, and
All right.
upcoming weeks, future weeks, I'm sure we'll discuss more. But a very, very impressive and exciting press conference, to say the least. So again, welcome, Coach Harbaugh, to the New York Giants, and we both here and our fans all welcome you on New York Giants Football Talk. Thank you.
Absolutely. So he, as you indicated, Kenny, he starting tomorrow, he's going to work on bringing in the best team, the best staff of teachers, as you indicated, and John Harbaugh did uh, for this team. And rumors have it, they want to bring in Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator, and that remains to be seen. But we'll put that off today. But let's talk about the defensive coordinator, which is going to be a really, really important hire for us, Kenny. For those of you who who have heard us over the season, the defense, even though we had some very, very excellent players, never lived up to the hype. Uh, Too many late fourth quarter collapses caused us to lose many games to be in this situation. So hiring the right individual to lead this defense is going to be something that Coach Harbaugh is going to have to make and get right. So we each had a list of, say, our top 3 candidates and 2 honorable mentions. So why don't we do this? Why don't we go back and forth? I know neither one of us did it in particular order,
Right.
but you mention a name, I'll mention a name, and we'll sort of go back and forth and sort of give sort of an overview of what we think might be a good fit for the Giants defense
Well, I'll
and the
give you
right
my
person.
number. I did rank them, so I'll give you my number one. Uh,
Okay.
my number one guy, Mark, is out there saying the same, and Sharon had the last 8 years was on uh, her team. That's former head coach of the Bills who was just released, Sean McDermott. He was the reason that, in my opinion, the Panthers got to the Super Bowl that year and won the Super Bowl. It didn't end well. His defense wasn't great this past year, but going forward, defensive coordinator, if he can just run my defense, I will take that. I think Sean McDermott will be, a guy that can build the secondary and also get to the, know what his strength is on this defense. And if he doesn't get another head coach job, because it looks like everybody's hiring head coaches, former head coaches, if he doesn't get a head coach job, he would be my number one choice for defensive coordinator.
Okay. Sounds good. Like I said, my 3 guys, I didn't have them in order. I just um, reviewed 3. Uh, but the first guy I'll mention is someone who you may have on your list. Actually, he's a Denver Broncos uh, defensive pass game coordinator, Jim Leonard, who was a former player with the Ravens in 2008. So he played with Jim Harbaugh for 1 year. He thought of highly by both college and in the NFL. He was a defensive back coach with Wisconsin, and then when the coach got fired, he was named interim coach in 2022. Uh, he leads the Bronco defensive secondary. Obviously, they've been really, really good this year, led by Patrick Surtain. And he serves as also, and Kurt could correct me, assistant head coach. So a guy like this, he's still fairly young, might come in and be a good candidate to lead this defense.
That's a great choice. I got him on my list too. So I'll
Great.
save. Oh, Jim Leonard was actually my number two, so I'll use one of my honorable mentions at the end. I'll move my number three guy up to my number two since you took Jim
Okay.
Leonard.
Go ahead.
Agree with you. Agree everything about what you said about Jim Leonard. Love it. Jim Schwartz is going to be my number three, moved up to number two now. Jim Schwartz, coach with Kevin Stefanski. Browns defense was not the issue in Cleveland. Myles Garrett just broke Michael Strahan's sack record, for goodness sakes. God, you put Jim Schwartz on with Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Dexter Lawrence on that line. Brian Burns may break the record next year. Just saying. Abdul Carter may have double digit sacks. He's going to know what that strength is. And Jim Schwartz is a respectful defensive coordinator, former head coach. Didn't go well in his head coaching days, but I would not be against this guy leading my defense in New York with Jim
Well,
Harbaugh
well
or
said.
John Harbaugh as my head coach.
Well said, Kenny. I had Jim Schwartz on my honorable mention, one of my two honorable mentions as well. Actually, ironically, as you mentioned, the current or was the current defensive coordinator at Cleveland, ironically, a Baltimore native, but was defensive assistant with the Ravens going back to the late 1990s. Which was, of course, before Jim Harbaugh. But with the Lions, he was there actually 5 years. Didn't go very well, but led them to their first playoff in many years. So he did have some success, almost similar to the Brian Dable 1 year making the playoffs. Was with the Eagles from 2016 to 2020, and what do you know? Was on the staff that beat New England in Super Bowl 52. So the defense held, uh, if you want to call it, held Tom Brady and the Patriots in that game enough to allow the Eagles to win the Super Bowl that year. And uh, in 2023, the Browns allowed the fewest yards allowed and 7 points allowed, and they made the playoffs in 2023. So I agree with you. I would have no problem if Jim Harbaugh selected him as our defensive coordinator.
Let's do this. I want to say hello to our good friend Patrick Wiltsey out there in Hawaii, saying aloha,
Hey,
boys.
Patrick.
Nice get, Harbaugh. We just talked about our coach to start the show off, Patrick, and thank you for tuning in as always. And I do want to always on the top left corner there, Lion Coffee. Patrick is over there in Hawaii, sends us Lion Coffee where he's at, and some of the best stuff around. He also sends some tea to Paul. And go on lioncoffee.com. Use the code Patrick10. You'll get 10% off of any of your Lion Coffee products that's on their website. Thank you, Patrick, for always being a part of our shows and, also taking care of us with some coffee and tea on a regular basis. Mark is saying Weaver, Wink, and Orr. So there's his three.
We'll get to that in a second, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, Kenny, who's
I'll
your
give you an
who's your
honorable
next?
mention. I'll give you an honorable mention because my three were Sean McDermott, one, Jim Leonard, two, Jim Schwartz, three. And real quick, Jimmy Eisman saying hello. I always want to get a hello out to Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
He's in there, the audience, fellow Giants fan. We had to cancel. We're going to have Jimmy on as a guest. We'll set one up with Jimmy, Paul, in the near future get him on a show. We were going to have him as a guest a few weeks ago. We had to cancel.
Right.
We'll get you on, Jim. Love having you on our show. Very knowledgeable Giants fan. I'm going to give you an honorable mention that may not be a popular pick with everybody, but I'll tell you why it's going to be a popular pick. It could be a popular pick. Jonathan Gannon, the former Cardinal head coach, former Eagles defensive coordinator, got the head coach job in Arizona along with Shane Steichen going to the Colts because that's the year they won the Super Bowl. And the defense was great and their offense, we know what their offense was. But Jonathan Gannon is a good defensive coordinator, in my opinion. Maybe he was a little over his head in Arizona as a head coach, first time head coach, but I would not be against Jonathan Gannon as my honorable mention, facing the Eagles twice, Commanders twice, and the Cowboys twice. Kind of mostly knows their offenses. So sign me up. I would do it. If that's an honorable mention, that's going to be an honorable mention that I'm going to go with.
Okay. I know you've been on the Gannon bandwagon for quite some time now. You've mentioned him in the times that we've talked about defensive coordinators. So, yeah, listen, he obviously knows defense. He knows the NFC East. So if, in fact, he wound up being interviewed and he hired him, I would have no problem with that at all.
Jimmy
I'll give
wants
you
to bring back Dable as offensive coordinator.
who?
Dable.
Who said that? Jimmy wants to bring back Dave.
Dable as offensive coordinator. Somebody
Actually, they may
mentioned
be
that.
interviewing him for the head coach in Buffalo, but that's another thing. So Mark mentioned two other guys, and actually, Mark, those two guys were the other two guys on my list: Zach Orr and Anthony Weaver. Orr is the current defensive coordinator under Harbaugh at Baltimore. Played with Baltimore for a short while. The nice, attractive thing about him is there's a good news, bad news. He's 33 years old. So if he should come in and really do well for the Giants, unfortunately, they may not hold him that long because at 33, if he's there for 2 years, they'll be looking for another defensive coordinator, because he'll probably put himself in a position for a possible head coaching job. But hey, that's putting the cart way the heck before the horse. But last year in 2024, he was very good. The defense was excellent, first in rushing yardage, and the way our team allows rushing against the teams in the NFL, Kenny, we certainly could use someone who knows how to teach stopping the run. This year, not so good. 24th in yards allowed, 18th in points allowed. And the other guy that Mark mentioned, and he's on my list, Anthony Weaver, former defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. Similar kind of thing. Worked under John Harbaugh, was defensive line coach, assistant head coach in John Harbaugh's staff. Last 2 years, defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. 2 years ago in 2024, they were fourth in yards allowed, only 10th and 10th in points allowed. Last year, everything went wrong for Mike McDaniel and everybody in the Dolphins in South Beach. 22nd in yards allowed, 24th in points allowed. So he did not have as good a year. But again, another tie-in with John Harbaugh's past. So those are my five. The other one I did have that we didn't mention, and we've talked about him in the past, is honorable mention would be Wink Martindale, who we loved him in the 2 years. There were disagreements with Brian Dable, though he did coach under John Harbaugh for almost 10 years. So I would have no problem bringing Wink back. I think he would mold the defensive players that they have now, and they would be phenomenal in responding to him. So,
yep. I was just going to say Mark and Jimmy are on that Wink Martindale train too, and I am too, as honorable mention too. I just had one other guy I just wrote down because maybe we both forgot about him. But if you're going to bring back a Giant, Antonio Pierce I wouldn't be against Antonio Pierce coming as an honorable mention if everybody else
Yeah,
on this list is gone.
I had thought about him, and I know a lot of times coaches bring in players they're familiar with. I don't know if there was any tie-in, but maybe given his history with the Giants, certainly guys and the Tishes, the Maras, supporting a guy like that. Maybe I know he wants to allow John Harbaugh to pick his own coaching staff, but never hurts to have the owner say, "Listen, we respect Antonio Pierce very much. So at least
Hey,
meet with him, at least interview with
maybe
him. If he doesn't,
maybe a linebacker coach. It doesn't have to be coordinator. Get back in the NFL somewhere along the line, and
yeah,
and
yeah. No,
see.
I don't disagree. I don't
Yeah.
disagree. All right, good. We're making good time. We're about halfway through the show. And any other coaches, defensive coaches that we want to
De-
mention at this point?
Defensive, no. I do want to say hello. I got a cousin out there in Charleston, South Carolina, Brian Kirkpatrick, saying hello. Uh,
Hey,
Bedford
Brian.
Falls, go check out their restaurant. Brian and my cousin Brendan have a restaurant there doing very well. Giants, themed bar, sports bar over there in and Mets. I think they're Mets fans, if I'm not mistaken, Paul. We'll have to
Let's go
take a road
Mets.
trip. We'll have to take a road trip one day. He's saying home run higher with John Harbaugh. Joe Shane looked scared to death today, laughing out loud. Well, if it's a home run hit, Brian, I think Joe Shane should be happy, So I think his job is going to be safe if it's a home run higher. But good seeing you,
uh,
cousin. Good hearing from you.
Brian, speaking of sort of tangentially talking about baseball and home runs and Mets, if you didn't hear, Carlos Beltran was elected to the Hall of Fame this evening, and he's going to
Nice.
go in as a Met. So that's good news for us Met fans.
Jimmy, just throwing one more name out there. Maybe Jesse Armstead on the coaching staff.
You know my feeling about Jesse, and
I love Jesse.
hey, yeah, yeah, he's one of my all-time favorite Giants. All
All right,
right,
my friend, we could move
so
on. We got a couple more for everybody. I think we'll get to both of them.
um, obviously sometimes coaches get comfortable with their players who they've coached and drafted and managed for years. Kenny came up with an interesting list of Ravens free agents that might be on the market, and possibly Harbaugh might want to bring in some of his guys. So why don't we go through those lists, Kenny? We'll talk offense first, and then we'll go defense. Um, do you want to give me the names, or you
Yeah, I
want,
could give you
or
the names, and then we can each
okay?
look at these a little. We'll do the offense first, like you said, and point a couple of guys out who we think may follow John Harbaugh. A good
Mm-hmm.
chance. Couple wide receivers, veteran that everybody knows, maybe a Hall of Famer. We'll see. DeAndre Hopkins, getting up there in age. He's a free agent. And a special teamer slash practice squad guy, Tylan Wallace, are the wide receivers. Moving on to the tight ends, of a big name that I like a lot, Isaiah Likely, and another guy to look into, Charlie Kohler, who came in when Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews was hurt. He was the third tight end on their roster. Quarterback Tyler Huntley, with just throw his name in there. Fullback Patrick Ricard, former Pro Bowler. And then three offensive linemen. Tyler Lindenbaum, offensive lineman, center. Could move to guard if you need him to. Joseph Noteboom, a 30-year-old left tackle, backup. And right guard, starting right guard, Daniel Falehi. And let me just give you a little fun fact about Daniel Falehi, because I know not too many people know that name. He started all 17 games. He only had one holding penalty, two false starts. But here's the note. Traded by the Giants in the fourth round to the Ravens 4 years ago for Marcus McKeithen. It was a draft day trade. They drafted
Right.
Falehi. So that's a name to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Right guard, just saying. And that's where I'll
Interesting.
start, Paul, and then I'll let you go. Daniel Falehi, I would keep an eye out for. Started all 17 games, 4 years. He's only missed just a couple games, and like I said, he only had 3 penalties all year. Right
Hmm.
guard Greg Van Roten talks about Jermaine Luminor maybe moving over there. It's a need right now. This could be the number one guy that comes over from
Hmm.
Baltimore to be with Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, I know you can't sign everybody, and the Giants' offensive line this year actually was maybe one of their strengths. Ironically, uh, they went from maybe arguably the worst offensive line in the league all the way up to like 10th, 11th, 12th, which says a lot about the offensive line coach Carmen Brasillo, who I know they're going to be interviewing, and I think both Kenny and I don't want to speak for Kenny, but I think we both agree he would be a guy that if there's any coach on the team right now, you would want to keep him. But that being said, I agree with you. Falele, if you can bring in a guy who knows the system, has been a guy who's been in and played every game, is not injured, doesn't commit penalties, is not undisciplined, you got to look into bringing him in and signing this guy. The other offensive lineman that clearly strikes my eye is Tyler Lindenbaum. I mean, he was a number one pick. Coming out of college, he was highly, highly rated. Uh, I don't think the Ravens are going to be able to sign all these guys. I would take either or. John Michael Schmidt has been, for the most part, a pretty disappointing center. They thought they were drafting the center of the future, and between injuries and other performance issues, has not really been the guy that has been able to lead this team. You can bring in a center who's been in the playoffs, who's been, I think, a Pro Bowl, All Pro type center. That's another guy that I think Harbaugh will definitely look at improving the Giants' offensive line.
Yeah, I can't disagree. The third one on there is a left tackle. I mean, is he my a 30-year-old left tackle that's a backup? I don't want to go that route. Yeah, I'm happy with Marcus Bowe being that swing
Hmm.
player. He showed that he
Hmm.
can be the backup there. But Tyler Linderbaum would be a home run. I think he's a Pro Bowler in the not in the making. He is a Pro Bowler, and Falehi would be my top choice. Uh, Moving on, next guy I would bring in is guy I loved out of Coastal Carolina, and my good friend Dylan, alumni over there, and we started watching. That's where I started learning about Isaiah Likely, and I was like, this would be a great pick for the Giants a couple of years ago because we needed a tight end, and the Ravens took him. I don't know if it was in the Giants' plans, but the Ravens got him, and I think he's very underrated and underused when it comes to Mark Andrews being there. I think Isaiah Likely could start on many teams in this league, and he can do a 50-50 split with Theo Johnson. And Theo Johnson, so far in his couple of years, has showed that he hasn't been able to play 17 games. So I need, we got Daniel Bellinger. He's a free agent, but if John Harbaugh says, I need Isaiah Likely over Daniel Bellinger, I'm all in. I'm putting all my chips in, and I'm bringing Isaiah Likely because I think he is a breakout candidate on the right team.
Hmm.
So that's who I'm bringing
Good.
in. That would be my second guy I bring in on the
Okay.
as a Giant.
The other guy that I'm going to mention, and we know the kind of offenses that the Ravens have run over the few years, the fullback. And even though the Giants haven't used the fullback per se, but different coach, different offensive style, Patrick Ricard, that could be an interesting pickup because the way the offense might be run this year, they may be able to utilize him similar to way the 49ers use Jusac. And I know he's been a Pro Bowl in the past. He's one of those guys. He's underrated. He doesn't, you never notice him until he makes a play, and then you go, oh man, that guy is just a lunch pail type of guy. Just comes in, does what they need him to do. So that might be an interesting pickup if they were thinking of bringing in someone like that, especially if the offense is going to change around a little.
Love it, and I would not be against that. If Todd Monken is the offensive coordinator, that could very easily be a signing for the
Hmm.
Ravens for sure. Uh, yeah, that's about it on the offense for me, Paul. I'm not bringing in
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley with Jameis Winston there, and the wide receivers. Hopkins on his way to retiring soon,
No.
and nothing there. Uh, and move on to the defense if you want. I'll give you some names that are on
Yeah.
defense here because I do have a couple that I think the Giants would help. Uh, Draymond Jones, defensive end. Couple defensive linemen, back end guys, Brent Urban and Tanner Byron, not much there. Cornerback that the Ravens acquired after week 5, Jacoby Awuzie, and a couple safeties are Darius Washington and Alohi Gilman, former Notre Dame player. Paul, I did my homework there and saw where these guys
Yes,
played.
he is.
Kyle Van Noy, veteran, and David Ajabo, Mark over there at Michigan, if he's still listening, maybe give us some thoughts on Ajabo because I remember him being highly, a player to watch out for, and he's just had injury after injury so far in the NFL. Kind of like Aziz Olajari. David
Hmm.
Ajabo reminds me of him. And then a linebacker special teamer, Jake Hummel. I'm going to go first, Paul. I'm going to give you the guy I think this is
Go
going to
ahead.
happen, and that's linebacker Jake Hummel. Special team ace is what I'm hearing about this guy. John Harbaugh, former special teams coach. He's going to preach the special teams, which Joe Shane kind of let go a little bit this past year. Now that John Harbaugh is there, you ain't going to see nearly as bad special teams. Jake Hummel is a special teams ace, been with the Ravens. Uh, he had a block punt for a touchdown last year versus the Rams, and I believe 9 solo tackles on special teams as well. So Jake Hummel, I would bring him in as a special team ace to be a captain on the special teams.
Nice. Okay. I'll go for that. Two guys. You mentioned Gilman. With the way the safeties played, it was very, very disappointing. I was almost shocked at the way our safeties played this year after bringing in uh, Holland and Tyler Newbin had a bad year. I think Dane Belton probably had the best year out of any of the safeties. Um, Gilman, I might bring in. Let's face it, at this point, nobody's safe. You're going to bring in players who you're comfortable with, and if he wins the job, hey, I'm open. I'm open to bringing in someone who I know is going to play hard, and are going to make plays. Enough of this taking wrong angles on receivers as they're flying by you and scoring long touchdowns. So um, that's one guy. The other interesting guy, and I don't know how much gas he has left in the tank, but Kyle Van Noy. It just seems like the last few years he goes to a new team and he gets regenerated and he comes up and plays like he's a 20-year-old 21-year-old rookie. So um, again, I don't know how much he has left, but if you bring a guy like that over, I can't imagine guys like Abdul Carter, uh, Brian Burns, even Kayvon, even Dexter Lawrence. Hey, he'd be the veteran. He'd be a guy that young players can look to. And I'm not saying he's going to play 50, 60, 80% of the time, but even if he played 30, 40% and gave quality shifts when he was out there, you know, maybe that's something that might be considered by the Giants bringing him in.
I like that, Paul. couple my cousin Brian. He's right up there with Vic, but clean. So I'm gonna tell a couple of funny ones that you're gonna like, Paul. He says,
Okay.
if you replayed a press conference, Joe Shane's blinking help in Morse code. And he's also saying, rumor has it Joe Shane had to kiss Harbaugh's Super Bowl ring to keep his job. Figured you liked it. Brian, not a fan of Joe Shane for sure.
That's
So,
funny.
so it's funny and great job there, and glad you guys are here. I hope you guys are doing well over there in South Carolina. I know you guys are killing it with your restaurant, Bedford Falls. One day we'll get down there and surprise you guys, and we'll have a little fun couple days with you guys. Uh, Aloha Griffin's another special teamer, Paul, that I would bring in as back
Okay.
end safety help.
Hmm.
I saw what he did with the Ravens, but in college he had a memorable block punt for a touchdown, I believe, in a big game for Notre Dame.
Yeah,
So,
that's
I,
the guy I wanted. That's
yeah,
what I said.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would bring him in. The other guys maybe special teamers too, but I do have one wild card. He didn't play on the Ravens last year, but he last played for the Ravens. He didn't play for a team this past year. This may cause some controversy, but bring it on. Justin Tucker. Why not? Deshaun Watson's playing, just saying, and he's making 300 million for. I don't want to get into what he did on the off the field, but he is a free agent. He's eligible to play. He's not suspended from the league. We know what our kicking problems were last year. Graham
Did we
Gano
have
is groin.
problems kicking?
Yeah, 99 kicking problems. Graham Gano with his groin injuries. Judd McAtini missing extra points, multiple extra points. Youngwei Koo whiffing on a kick like Charlie Brown. And then our last was Solids, but he did okay, but I think he needs some competition next year. Bring in Justin Tucker. Incentive friendly deal. Tryout. Going to be competition with the guy we got on the roster right now. If you beat him out, you get some bonuses. Why not? Why not? You know what he can do. He's 30. He's going to be 37 years old. That's young in kicker's age. You can play to your
Mm.
40s in kicker, as a kicker. What are your thoughts
I
there?
listen. I'm not commenting about the off the field stuff, but from a perspective of a kicker, you can argue he might be the greatest kicker in NFL history, at least in postseason. The guy had kick after kick after kick that allowed the Ravens to move in the playoffs. I mean, he was almost a sure thing when he was out there. If the Giants are willing to take the chance and it gets signed off, I would sign up for that tomorrow. Uh, the Giants can't go through another season of having uh, a merry-go-round of kickers. It,
Nope.
you never think about special teams until you need them and they cost you the game. And hey, that could have John Harbaugh may have lost the game by a rookie kicker missing a easy 44-yard field goal. So if there's anybody that knows best about special teams, it's John Harbaugh. Bring him in and let him do what he's got to do off the field. But if he can make this team, I'm there. I'm
Yeah.
there.
I know we're talking about Ravens, and Mark brings up a good point. He's saying the kicker out of Michigan's a good kicker. Don't be surprised, and we're going to do that on a upcoming show. We'll do our mock drafts, but don't be surprised if the Giants look kicker in the fifth, sixth, or seventh round.
Yeah.
There's some good kickers coming out of college. Maybe that's the route they decide to go. But if not, I would definitely look into Justin Tucker for sure. I would not be against it.
Yeah. No, that was a good point, Kenny. Great idea.
We
All
got
right.
about we
Speaking
got
of,
roughly 10 minutes left, Paul, and I think we got one
mhm,
more topic for everybody.
yeah. So speaking of the draft, obviously it's draft season now that we're almost at the championship game and then the Super Bowl in a few weeks. But the mock drafts are flying left and right, and we all know we're going to have the 5th pick in the draft. But now we also know that with John Harbaugh as our head coach, this will be his first draft as a Giants head coach. And based on what we're hearing, he's going to have a lot of input into the personnel of the makeup of the team. So, fun little exercise. We'll get into mock drafts and we'll do our mock drafts. But I think if you put Fernando Mendoza as your number 1 pick in the draft for the Raiders quarterback, I think you won't go wrong. You'll all be right. So let's go. Giants are picking 5th. Kenny, John Harbaugh is on the clock. The Giants are on the clock with him having a big input into the Giant draft. Who would be the 5th pick for the New York Football Giants?
Yeah, I'm just going to say hello to Trevor, and we'll get to his comment question
Hey, Trevor.
as we're done with this, because we just hit up the defensive coordinators earlier. We'll get to that question, though. I promise, Trevor. Thank you for coming on. I watched the national championship yesterday. My favorite team came just short, Miami Hurricanes. I've been saying all
Sorry,
year.
Kenny.
I know, thank you. I've been saying all year, you got to protect Jackson Dart. You got Thomas on the left side. You need somebody on the right side. Am I sold with Jermaine Illuminor? No, I'm not. I'm not. He's good, but I want somebody I think that I can count on. I know it failed with Evan Neal, but you learn from your mistakes and you move on. If you watch that national championship yesterday, when they ran the ball right to the right side, and those guys were blocking on the right side, Francis Managua was right in the middle of that blocking. That's who I want on this team. 6'6", 330 on that right side, and Andrew Thomas on that left side. I think Jackson Dart won't have too much to worry about on the ends. Cam Scatterbo also running with holds the size of the Grand Canyon. All right. That's who I want at number 5, and I'll bring up names because I see who Mark wants. He wants to Tata, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I don't know who Paul's going to say, but I'll say a couple names. Joe Alt, Will Campbell. Chargers, Justin Herbert. Patriots, Drake May. How are those quarterbacks doing? Just saying. And he reminds me of Penei Sewell. Francis Managua was my pick at 5.
Great pick. Great pick. A lot of it, I've been looking at some of the early mock drafts. You have teams in front of us leading to 5 that they're such wild cards because you never know what they're going to do to screw up these drafts. The Cardinals or the Jets for that matter, or even the Titans at 4. I mean, I've heard that the Titans might take Managua. Tate might go early, but let me throw something at you, Kenny. This is totally out of the box, but I'll throw this at you. Even though I love Managua, we had that show a couple of weeks ago. We both had him as our number 1 pick. What do the Ravens love to do the most on offense? Okay. They've had a guy in there, Derrick Henry, the last few years that's been incredible. We have, I think, 2 fairly good players, which we love, Tyrone Tracy, and of course, I love my guy Cam. In this scenario today, what if we ran the ball so much that if Managua and Tate are taken, we decide, hey, you know what? We're going to run the ball and really make it easy on Jackson Dart. So my fifth pick, I'm taking my guy from the University of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love, and add him to the backfield of Cam and Tyrone Tracy. We'll make it an Earth, Wind, and Fire Part 2 and have an unbelievable backfield that we can that let um I'll say to defenses, try and stop not one, not two, but three of these guys. And if you stop any of them, Malik Neighbors is going to be open. Theo Johnson's going to be open. And I know it's crazy, but you think about who he is: great receiver, great running back, great blocker. You add him into the mix with these other guys, everyone will be fresh. Everyone will have an opportunity. He played like that at Notre Dame, and they all can catch the ball. They all can run the ball. They all can block. I think giving him with Dart and the kind of offense they have, running the ball, I think they could be an incredible, incredible offense. So at this moment, that's who I'm picking, thinking Managua and Tate will be taken before the Giants select.
Listen, Paul, if you said the Giants are going to take a punter in the first round, I'd believe you because you hit every pick last year. So I'm not against anything you're saying right now, to be honest with you. I like the out of the box idea. I love it because nobody, and I mean nobody, has the Giants taking Jeremiah Love. So I love the out of the box. I went maybe more conservative, but I want to protect my quarterback. Paul wants the home run, earth, wind, and fire. I'm not against it. I'm not. So
uh,
that's a good one. I like it.
let me just say this. In looking at some of the mock drafts, and of course, things change over the next 4 months, but they have New Orleans at 8 picking him, Kansas City picking him at 9. He's going to be a top 10 pick. So I know people are like, oh, you can't take a running back, that high. But you know what? With the offense, the way that they're running now, with if Monken comes in and Harbaugh, why not? Why not? Especially, do I take the second or third rated player at the position versus the top running back at that position,
Yeah.
knowing that you're going to do that kind of run that kind of offense?
Mark's out of the
So
box guy is. Oh, go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
no.
I was just saying,
What
Mark's
did
out of
Mark
the
say?
box guy is Downs from Ohio State, Caleb Downs. Don't be
Yeah.
surprised with those teams, like you said, and we got to wrap it up. Unfortunately, I'm going to get to Trevor's question, and that'll be the last thing before we get our final thoughts in, Paul. Uh,
Okay.
don't be surprised, 8 and 9, like you said. Maybe the Giants, depending on how the draft goes, maybe that's a good trade down spot.
Mm-hmm.
If teams want Jeremiah Love, maybe that's a good
There you
trade down
go.
spot, and they can get some draft capital. Let's say hello to
Mm-hmm.
Trevor. He came in a few minutes ago. Hey,
Hey,
Kenny and
Trevor.
Paul, congrats on the Harbaugh hire. I think he will definitely help turn things around. He's a good culture head coach, knows how to win at high level. I will say his defensive coordinator hire will be very important. So far, the names mentioned he's not in love with is Rex Ryan and Anthony Weaver. You had Anthony
Mm-hmm.
Weaver, Rex Ryan also
Right.
being mentioned. But he has a question, though. Let's hit this up real quick. So we do have another show coming on the network shortly. So we want to give him some time to come in. Any concerns with Joe Shane's job going forward? He seemed pretty nervous at the press conference. We had Brian say the same thing in some funny comedian version. Uh, it is important to have a good head coach general manager relationship. Shane should still have a heavy input on the draft. He has drafted very well over his time in New York. Any concerns with his job going forward, Paul?
I mean, everyone's saying the right thing, collaboration. They're all on the same page at this point. Yeah, if the Giants go 4-13 again, John Harbaugh isn't getting fired. So they better not lose. they better not lose 13
They
more
better be
games next
close to
year.
500 at the least. They better be close to 500. I'm with you.
I think the Vegas has them at 8.5 at this point.
It's not bad. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
twice as many games as last year. So
right.
I'm going to get my final thoughts in, Paul, and I'm going to give you the final say of the evening. I want to
Okay.
thank our audience, some new faces, some old faces, some family faces. I appreciate all of you coming on, hanging out with us. Exciting times are coming for the New York Giants, and it's only January. You know what? Besides the four teams playing for the super to get to the Super Bowl, I think we may be the most exciting fan base of any team that's not playing this week. And that's because we got a Hall of Fame coach running our team. Let's go, Giants. We will see everybody next week. Another fun episode. Thank you, Paul. We'll get your final thoughts in and we'll call it a night and see everyone next Tuesday.
Thanks, Kenny. Great show as always. Love you, brother. Thanks, everybody. Wonderful questions, comments. As Kenny said, new head coach. I have not been this excited since Super Bowl 42 when the Giants upset the Patriots. So it remains to be seen what's moving forward. But you know what? At least we have something to dream about and be excited about. And I think this is a new era, and we're all going to be on the ride together.
Have a good night, everybody. See everyone next Tuesday.